You know the exact moment I'm talking about. When you looked at them and felt like you were looking at a mirror. Not in the superficial way of shared interests or similar personalities. Deeper. Like seeing a part of yourself that had been living in another body. Like recognizing home in a stranger's eyes. That's what brought you here. That recognition. That impossible to explain knowing that this person matters in a way no one else has mattered. That this connection carries weight you can't rationalize. And somewhere along the way someone gave you language for it. Twin flame. Divine counterpart. The other half of your soul. But here's what almost no one tells you about that recognition. About that magnetic pull that feels cosmically orchestrated. It's not what you think it is. And understanding what it actually is, what's really happening in that moment of recognition, that's what determines whether this connection destroys you or transforms you. I'm not going to tell you twin flames aren't real. I'm going to tell you something more uncomfortable than that. They're real. The recognition is real. The intensity is real. The feeling that you've found the person you've been searching for across lifetimes is real. But what you're recognizing isn't them. It's you. Let me explain what I mean. There's a concept in Jungian psychology called the syzygy. It's the internal pairing of masculine and feminine, the anima and animus, the complementary opposites that exist within your own psyche. Every person carries both. And for most of your life, half of that pairing stays unconscious, undeveloped, projected outward onto others. When you meet someone who seems to embody that unconscious half with uncanny precision, when they reflect back qualities you've never integrated in yourself, your psyche recognizes itself. Not in them, through them. They become a living screen for the projection of your own undeveloped wholeness. And that projection, that recognition of yourself in external form, feels more real than anything you've ever experienced. Because in a sense, it is real. You are seeing yourself, just not in the way you think. This is why twin flame connections feel fated. Why they carry that quality of divine orchestration. Your own psyche is trying to show you something about yourself, and it will use another person as the mirror until you learn to see it directly. If you've had this recognition, describe what you saw in them that you later realized was actually in you, not what you wanted them to be. What quality they reflected that you hadn't claimed in yourself. Drop it in the comments. Now here's where it gets complicated. That recognition, that mirroring, it's not a problem. It's actually the beginning of something profound. The issue is what most people do with it. They try to possess the mirror, try to merge with the person carrying their projection, try to make the external relationship work so they never have to do the internal work of integrating what's being reflected. And this is where the twin flame journey becomes a trap. Because if the connection is actually showing you yourself, then chasing them, waiting for them, trying to make them ready or available or capable of the union you're seeking, all of that is avoiding the real work. The work of becoming whole within yourself, of integrating the qualities you're seeing in them, of withdrawing the projection and claiming what's actually yours. Most twin flame teachings get this backwards. They tell you the separation is a test, that you need to wait for divine timing, that if you do enough healing work, the runner will stop running and you'll finally have your union. And all of that might sound spiritual, might sound like it honors the sacred nature of the connection, but it's actually just sophisticated avoidance. It's using the relationship as an excuse to not become whole on your own. The Sophia stage changes everything about this, because Sophia isn't about finding your other half. It's about becoming whole. And when you reach that wholeness, when you've integrated the very qualities you were projecting onto your twin flame, the entire dynamic transforms. Not because they change, because you do. And what happens to the connection when you reach Sophia, that's what most people never talk about. That's what we're going to explore. Let me walk you through what actually shifts when someone reaches Sophia while still holding a twin flame connection. This doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It unfolds in 3 distinct stages, and each stage requires something different from you. Stage 1, the recognition of projection. Something changes in how you see them. Not gradually, almost overnight. You're thinking about them, maybe for the 1000th time, replaying a conversation or imagining a future reunion, and suddenly you see it. The thing you've been chasing in them is a quality you've been refusing to develop in yourself, Maybe they seemed so spiritually awakened and you've been waiting for them to guide you into your own awakening, and you realize you've been outsourcing your spiritual development to them instead of doing it yourself. Maybe they seemed so emotionally available in moments and so unavailable in others, and you realize you've been doing the same thing, projecting your own ambivalence about intimacy onto them. Whatever it is, you see it. And the seeing is devastating at first, because it means you've been in love with a reflection. It means the connection you thought was about them has actually been about you all along. It means they were never going to complete you because completion isn't something another person can provide. This recognition doesn't make the love disappear. That's important to understand. You can see the projection and still care about them deeply, still feel the magnetic pull, still recognize something genuine in the connection. But the nature of the caring changes. It's no longer desperate, no longer grasping, because you've started to see that what you need from them, you can develop in yourself. This stage is brutal. Share what projection you recognized. What quality in them did you realize you needed to develop in yourself? Your honesty might be what someone else needs to see their own pattern. Stage 2. The withdrawal. This is where most people get stuck, because recognizing the projection intellectually is not the same as withdrawing it energetically. You can know you're projecting and still be completely entangled with them at the level of your nervous system, still checking their social media, still sending energy their way, still hoping for reunion. The withdrawal isn't something you force. It's something that happens when you genuinely start doing the work of integrating what you were projecting, when you stop waiting for them to embody the qualities you need and you start embodying them yourself. If you were projecting strength, you start building your own. If you were projecting spiritual depth, you start developing your own practice. If you were projecting emotional availability, you start learning to be available to yourself. And as you do this work, as you reclaim what you were seeing in them, the energetic entanglement naturally loosens. It's not that you stop caring, you stop needing, and that difference is everything. Need is about lack, about incompleteness seeking completion through another. Caring is about appreciation, about recognizing beauty or value in someone without requiring them to fill a void in you. At this stage, something peculiar happens. The twin flame often senses the shift, not because you told them anything, not because you changed your behavior toward them in obvious ways, but because the energetic dynamic has changed. You're not pulling on them anymore. You're not waiting for them. And that absence of need, that energetic withdrawal, it often prompts them to reach out, to check in, to test whether you're still hooked. This is where discernment becomes crucial. Because if you re-engage from the old pattern, from need instead of from wholeness, you reset the entire process. You have to be able to meet them, if you meet them, from the integrated place, from having claimed what you were projecting, not from hoping they'll finally give you what you've been seeking. Stage 3. The transformation of love. If you successfully navigate the withdrawal, if you genuinely integrate what you were projecting, and you develop those qualities in yourself, something remarkable happens to how you love them. It becomes what Jung called objective love. Love that doesn't require reciprocation, that doesn't need the relationship to take a particular form, that can genuinely celebrate their path even if their path leads away from you. This isn't the same as detachment. Detachment is a defense. It's protecting yourself from feeling by numbing or distancing. Objective love is feeling everything while being attached to nothing. You can care deeply, can even still feel that magnetic recognition, while simultaneously being completely free from needing the connection to manifest in any particular way. And here's what's strange. This is when real union becomes possible. Not the fantasized union where they finally become available and you merge into codependent bliss, but actual union. Two whole people meeting as equals. Two integrated beings who have done their individual work and can now choose connection from freedom instead of from need. Most twin flame connections never reach this point, because most people can't tolerate the withdrawal phase, can't stand the discomfort of reclaiming their projections and developing themselves instead of waiting for the other person. They stay stuck in stage 1, recognizing the projection but not withdrawing it. Or they oscillate between stages, making progress and then regressing when the longing becomes unbearable. But if you reach Sophia, if you genuinely become whole within yourself, the twin flame connection stops being the central organizing principle of your life. It becomes one relationship among many. Important, perhaps even sacred, but not the thing your entire existence revolves around. And that shift, that movement from obsession to perspective, is what makes genuine relating possible. Now I want to give you something practical. A specific exercise for working with twin flame projection. This isn't something you do once. It's a daily practice until the projection fully withdraws. Get a journal. At the top of a blank page, write what I see in them that I haven't claimed in myself. Then make 2 columns. In the left column, list every quality you're attracted to in your twin flame. Be specific. Not they're spiritual, but they seem comfortable with uncertainty, or they trust their intuition without needing external validation. In the right column, next to each quality, write 1 concrete action you can take to develop that quality in yourself. If you wrote, they seem comfortable with uncertainty, your action might be, sit with my own uncertainty for 10 minutes without trying to resolve it. If you wrote, they trust their intuition, your action might be, make 1 decision today based purely on my gut feeling without asking anyone's opinion, then do the actions. Every day. 1 action per quality until you've worked through the entire list. And as you do this, pay attention to what happens with the obsessive thinking about them. Notice if it lessens, if it shifts quality, if you start thinking about them with appreciation instead of desperation. This practice works because it addresses the root of the twin flame dynamic. It moves the energy from external seeking to internal development. It transforms you from someone waiting for completion through another person into someone building completion within yourself. For those doing this practice, share 1 quality you recognized and 1 action you took to develop it in yourself. Your specific example might be exactly what someone needs to start their own work. And here's what you might notice as you do this practice consistently. The twin flame either shows up differently or they fall away naturally. If they show up, it's not as the completion you were seeking. It's as a person, flawed, human, complex, and you can meet them there without needing them to be your salvation. If they fall away, it doesn't devastate you the way you thought it would, because you've been building in yourself what you were seeking in them. The loss of the external mirror doesn't create a void, because you've learned to see directly what the mirror was reflecting. Let me tell you about someone I worked with last year. She'd been in a twin flame connection for 7 years. 7 years of separation and reunion, of waiting and healing work, of convinced certainty that this person was her divine counterpart, and they just needed to align in timing. And then she reached Sophia. Not through anything related to the twin flame, through completely separate work on her own individuation. And when she reached that wholeness, when she integrated her own anima and stopped projecting it onto him, something unexpected happened. She realized the connection had been teaching her all along. Not teaching her to wait, teaching her to become whole. Every quality she'd been obsessed with in him was a quality her psyche was trying to develop in her. And once she developed them, once she claimed her own strength and intuition and emotional depth, the obsession dissolved. They're still in each other's lives, but the relationship is unrecognizable from what it was. It's boundaried, mutual, real, not the fantasy union she'd been waiting for. Something more grounded and honestly more satisfying. She told me she wished she'd had a roadmap for this earlier, for understanding twin flames through the lens of projection and integration instead of through the lens of divine timing and cosmic union. So I created one, The Alchemy of Letting Go. A Jungian roadmap for twin flames isn't about getting your twin flame back. It's not about manifesting union or healing enough to deserve them. It's about understanding the psychological and spiritual mechanics of what's actually happening in these connections. About learning to work with projection consciously. About developing in yourself what you're seeing in them. Inside, you'll find the complete framework for the 3 stages I just described. The practices for each stage, the journaling prompts, the ways to distinguish genuine recognition from trauma bonding, the tools for developing the qualities you're projecting instead of waiting for someone else to embody them for you. If you're in a twin flame connection, and you're finally ready to approach it from psychological maturity instead of spiritual bypassing, the link is in the description. But only use it if you're genuinely ready to do the work. If you're still hoping it will help you get them back, save your money. This isn't about reunion. It's about integration. And sometimes integration means the connection transforms into something completely different than what you were hoping for. So what actually happens to the twin flame connection when you reach Sophia? Let me tell you what doesn't happen. They don't suddenly become available. They don't have a spiritual awakening and realize you're the one. They don't text you out of nowhere confessing they've always loved you. That's fantasy. That's the ego's version of what should happen. What actually happens is far more subtle and far more profound. The connection stops controlling you. You can think about them without spiraling. You can see them or hear from them without your nervous system going into overdrive. You can acknowledge the significance of what you shared while simultaneously being completely at peace with it being over, or being different than you wanted. And from that peace, from that place of non-attachment, you become available for something you weren't available for before. Real intimacy. Not the intense, obsessive, can't live without you dynamic that masquerades as deep connection, but actual intimacy. The kind where you can see someone fully, including their limitations and woundedness, and choose to engage anyway. Not because you need them to complete you, because you enjoy who they actually are. Sometimes this intimacy happens with the twin flame. The runner stops running because there's nothing left to run from. You're not chasing, you're not projecting, you're not demanding they be anything other than human. And in that space, if they've done their own work, if they've reached their own version of wholeness, real relationship becomes possible. But here's what Sophia teaches you that the twin flame journey often obscures. The person doesn't matter as much as you think. What matters is your capacity for intimacy, your ability to love without possessing, your willingness to see people clearly instead of through the lens of what you need them to be. And once you develop that capacity, once you can love that way, you can have it with anyone who's also developed it. It doesn't have to be the twin flame. The twin flame recognition was never about them being the only one who could meet you. It was about them triggering your own individuation process, showing you what needed to be integrated, reflecting what you hadn't claimed. And once you claim it, once you become whole, you're free. Free to love them if they show up ready. Free to love someone else if they don't. Free to be alone and complete. Free in a way that chasing them could never give you. For those who have reached this freedom, this capacity to love the twin flame without needing them, what changed in how you experience love in general? Not just with them, but with everyone. Share it. Your evolution might inspire someone else's. There's a teaching in alchemy about the sacred marriage, the Connnection, the union of opposites. For centuries, people thought it was about finding your literal other half, the person who completes you. And some interpretations of twin flames have reinforced that idea, that you're incomplete until you find them. That union with them is the goal. But the alchemical texts, when you read them carefully, are talking about something else entirely. The Connnection is internal. It's the union of your own masculine and feminine, your own conscious and unconscious, your own light and shadow. It's becoming whole within yourself. And when you achieve that internal union, when you marry your own opposites, then and only then can you have genuine union with another. The twin flame was never meant to be the Connnection. They were meant to show you that you need it, to trigger the work of internal integration by reflecting what you haven't unified in yourself. And if you mistake the reflection for the real thing, if you chase external union instead of building internal union, you miss the entire point. Sophia is what happens when you get the point, when you stop seeking completion in another, and you build it in yourself, when you withdraw your projections and claim your own wholeness, when you realize the sacred marriage isn't out there, it's in here. And once you've achieved it internally, external relationship becomes a celebration of wholeness, meeting wholeness, not a desperate search for the missing piece. So what happens to your twin flame connection when you reach Sophia? It stops being about them. It becomes about you, about the wholeness you've built, about the love you can now offer without grasping, about the freedom to choose connection from completeness instead of from lack. And whether they're part of that new life or not, you're finally, genuinely, completely free. Last one. Complete this sentence in the comments. Before Sophia, I thought twin flame union meant. After Sophia, I understand it means. Let's see how many different versions of this transformation exist. Thank you for being here, for being willing to look at this connection through a lens that might be uncomfortable. That might challenge the stories you've been telling yourself. That might ask you to do harder work than waiting. But that work, that integration, that building of wholeness within yourself, it's what you came here for. The twin flame was just the mirror showing you the way, and now you know where to look.